Hello YouTube, it is new bike day. I'm going to be unboxing, assembling, and giving you my first ride impressions on my brand new Schwinn Axum. This is not the dropper post model, this is the regular model. It happened to be on sale when I got it, so I went ahead and went with this one. However, I will say that either way, I would highly recommend going for the dropper post model just because the difference between $50 to $100, the whether they're on sale or not, is just such a good deal either way. I would highly recommend going for the dropper post one if it's available in your area. I ordered this bike, and when I realized the dropper post version was only about $100 more, even with the price drop on this one, I tried to just search for one. And the thing with that bike is there's hardly any availability for it. So instead of waiting, I'm just going to build this bike anyways. It's dropper post ready, so whenever I get dropper post, I can just put it on there. So yeah, let's go ahead and open this thing up. All right, so here is my workspace. As you can see, no bike stand right now, just an old bed sheet on the ground. I'm going to be working on the ground because I'm going to be applying paint protection film to the frame of my new Axum. The reason you would want to do this is so your frame is protected from any sort of rock chips or chain slaps or anything like that. So I'm going to be putting the film between the bottom bracket and the head tube, and then along the chainstay on the chain side. That's going to protect that part of the frame from chain slap on the chainstay, and then the bottom bracket area from getting rock chips and any sort of damage that could come from any debris kicking off the tires. It's a great addition for your bike to protect it, and I happen to have some film that is a matte finish. The frame here is the blue frame. It's a matte finish, flat finish, so it's going to look really, really nice. It's not going to mess up the look of the bike in any way. It's going to look actually completely invisible, which is going to look real clean and really awesome. I'll show you what that is in a minute, but first let's go ahead and unbox the bike first and get it on the bed sheet. Not a fan of this, but I'm gonna leave it on its side. All right, so let's go ahead and take off all the protective stuff off of everything. So a very common complaint on these bikes when they're brand new is that they don't have enough grease for the front suspension fork and the head tube. But I just went ahead and take a look at it, and it's actually well greased. At least mine is, but I've seen videos where many people order these and they're almost not greased at all. There's barely any on there. But if I lift this up just a little bit, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but there's plenty of grease on there. So that's fantastic. I don't have to worry about that. So this right here is what's called paint protection film. So what this is a clear film that you put over a painted surface, typically cars. and it helps to protect the paint from any sort of scratches or dings or anything like that. So what it does is preserves the paint and prevents it from scratching underneath. And I think it would be a great addition to my new bike. I happen to work at a shop that specializes in this type of stuff for cars, and I managed to grab this scrap piece specifically for this bike. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece, and I'm going to go ahead and put it on the bike. So let's go ahead and take some measurements, and we'll cut the size. If you ever get your hands on some paint protection film and you want to install it yourself, here are the tools you're going to need: a bottle filled with soapy water and a bottle filled with diluted rubbing alcohol. And then you're going to need a good box cutter blade. Soapy water is going to allow you to slide the film around and place it wherever you want. And the rubbing alcohol is going to help evaporate all the soap and water from the surface you're putting it on. And of course, a blade is going to help, cut it. So yeah, let's go ahead and put the stuff on. All right, so here's the beauty of the paint protection film. As you can see, it is barely visible, just on the edges, which of course have to sit and dry. I gotta say that I'm actually rather impressed with how this came out. I hand cut the whole thing. But yeah, as you can see, the film is a flat finish, just like the frame. When I flip it over and have it on its wheels, you're barely going to be able to notice it, and it's going to provide a good amount of protection on the bottom. So that's, for me, I think it's a win-win situation. All right, so now that I got the film on the bottom of the frame, let's go ahead and take all the protective packaging off the front fork, and let's go ahead and install the front wheel. After that, you can flip it on its wheels and take a look at it. Well, here it is, right side up on its wheels. I did find out that I put the handlebars on wrong. They're the wrong direction. I can fix that pretty easily though. But yeah, apart from the rear derailleur hanger, everything else seems to check out. Alright, so as you may have saw, I did have to do some disassembly with the handlebars because when they installed the brake lever and routed the cable behind the front fork, it was all twisted up because this was just oriented the wrong way. So I did have to take that off and put it back on. It's better now. As you can see, there's no clearance issues or anything like that. So all is well up here. But then, before we can take this thing riding, we have to address the issue that is the rear derailleur hanger, which you can see is pretty far bent. So I'm gonna have to figure that out before we can even start riding. All right, so it is the next weekend, and I did manage to finish the bike. Everything seems to work pretty well. I just went for a spin around the block just to see if everything was working well, and it looks like it's ready to be taken out on its first ride. So I did have to address the rear derailleur hanger. I just straightened that out, and it does roll through all the gears well, and it stays in them. It's just a little noisy though, but I think that might be just the way that the rear derailleur is. I'm not really sure why, but it doesn't skip gears or anything like that, so it seems all right to me. But I'm gonna take you through what else I've done off camera. As you can see, I've installed lights. These were off of my old project bike, the Diamondback. I'm not a fan of the way this one looks. I might change this one out, but it works for now. I'm just gonna leave it. And then for the rear light, I happen to have a Schwinn tail light just laying around, just not being used, and it works. Pretty cool. And then I put on some more paint protection film. I removed the clear chainstay protector and I put a matte one on there, and it looks a lot cleaner. You can barely see it. Right here you can a little bit, just the corner, but otherwise you can barely see it. And then I put a piece right up here along the seat tube just to maintain the condition of the paint in that spot, because I know a lot of the dirt from the tire is just gonna fling itself right there. But yeah, I did also have to tune the rear derailleur. I did have to do some adjustments, and I did take it on the block real quick. I did adjust this on the stand, and as well I did take it on the block to see if it shifted, like I said earlier, and yeah, it works good. The front brakes I had to adjust. They were just too loose, and so I went ahead and adjusted them now, and they're much tighter. The rear brakes I did not have to touch. Rear brakes were pretty much perfect straight out of the box. But yeah, the Schwinn Axum is ready to ride. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so me and the Axum have just made it to the trailhead. The only problem I had arriving here was that on the rear derailleur, the high limit screw was not adjusted properly, and when I did go into the high gear, it came off. But otherwise, not a problem. That was my mistake. I did not go in the highest gear to check that. But yeah, like I said, no other problems so far. So here is the plan for today. I'm just going to be taking the Axum on some paved trails. I'm not going to be taking out any mountain bike trails yet. First, because I want to get used to the bike to see how it handles, and to make sure that everything is put together properly before I take it out on a trail, because I don't want it falling apart while I'm hopping over roots and stuff. And then I also want to bed in the brakes and the tires a little bit before I take it out on any trails. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and come down this path and then merge onto the main greenway, and then we're just gonna cruise on the Axum for today.
As you can see, they've been doing a lot of construction work on the trail. This is how it's been for the past year. They've actually closed sections off. Across to some water. I gotta say, I love the way this bike is geared. So far so good, this bike cruises nice. We're gonna make a left on this bridge. Very pretty. My chain just slipped off. There you have it. Don't know how it happened. It happened between second and third mid shift. I'm gonna get this back on. We're gonna continue. All right, just took a sip of water. Got my chain back on. Let's get back on the road. All right, I apologize. My action camera died towards the beginning where I pulled onto the road, and I didn't get any footage of me cruising on the road at higher speeds in the top gear. But I gotta say, it cruises very nicely. I made it to the end of the road. I pulled into this industrial building, And so far, I'm really happy with the Schwinn Axum. As you can see, I got some mud on it already, which looks pretty cool. But yeah, it cruises really nice at high speeds, which is awesome. And then yeah, like I said, I'm very happy with this bike. I have yet to take it on trails, as you know, so stay tuned for that. I will be recording my first trail ride with this in about a month. So yeah, stay tuned for that. The one thing that's bothering me are the pedals. They're aluminum, they're metal, which is nice, but they're not very grippy at all. You figured the studs would help grab your foot more, but it really doesn't do a whole lot. So that's going to be a little annoying. But otherwise, I don't have a problem with this bike. Like I said, my action camera died, so I'm not going to be able to record the rest of the ride. But I'm just going to go ahead and go back home, and I'll report any problems along the way if I have any. All right, it's a little later, so that's why my lights are on. And we made it to the trailhead with the Schwinn Axum. Yeah, so while on the way back, I did notice a couple of problems. So first off, my chain did slip off again while shifting from, I think it was from 4th to 5th, or from 5th down to 4th. But that is said to be a common problem on the Schwinn Axum with the rear derailleur, so that might need to get changed. That'll be all right though, because I actually do happen to have an extra rear derailleur that will support an 8-speed cassette. And then speaking of extra parts that I will have, I do have an extra saddle that is much more comfortable than this one. I've been out here, I want to say, for about an hour and a half now, and I didn't notice that there's very little padding on the seat area. So if I push my thumb in here, I'm at the end of the padding, and then up to that point, to get the camera to focus, I'm pushing against the material of the actual seat itself, like the plastic that's underneath that supports the seat. So yeah, not very comfortable on long rides. That might need to get changed out. But otherwise, no problems at all. I made it back, and I am very satisfied with this bike. It cruises really nice. So first impressions of the Schwinn Axum, I love it. Like I've been saying throughout the entire video, it cruises very nicely. So if you're looking for a mountain bike that can also commute, just change the saddle and you'll have something that will work out great. But yeah, so I made it to the end of the trailhead, which means that this will be the end of the video. So thank you for watching. I hope to see you in my next videos with this bike. This is my new bike, and I hope you stay around to watch it progress. I'm definitely going to be building it up. Once again, thank you for watching. I can't wait to see what the future holds, and I hope you stay tuned.